Hello, welcome back to Sukeji Speaks with your host Sukeji. And today, Sukeji speaks about the purge. So, the purge, or your first stage of becoming the conscious creator of your reality, is basically a purge, flushing, digging, getting down to the core, the nitty gritty of the person that you are at that moment, so you can then start to cleanse and then unearth or start a rebirth of your true self, your true nature. And so this phase is really kind of like fasting. It's like a emotional fast. And so within this first stage, some important things that you are going to be doing is, first is self-awareness, becoming aware of yourself, aware of your habits, your patterns, your thoughts, your emotions, your triggers, becoming aware of the version that you are at that point. And within this awareness, you must be detached. You must look at yourself within third person, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to, I wanted to say clinically, like it's like you kind of have to have like a clinical lens, or like a detached, a non-judgmental lens. You have to, and this is where you grow in your self-love and your self-compassion, because you're able to first know that the decisions and the habits and the patterns that you have made from the past up into that point are not you. You are you, but through these actions and these patterns that you have taken, they were influenced by a certain mindset that you had, right? And within that mindset that you had, there are things behind that made you have that certain mindset or have that certain perception of how the world works. Therefore, you acted in those ways, or you have those certain patterns or behaviors. And so, in becoming self-aware, it's like you need to look at your life and look at everything and see, is the way I'm acting, is this serving me? Do I like, having fear? Do I like having anxiety? And obviously, if you're thinking, you're like, no. But sometimes when we have given our power away to things, it can be very hard to get out of it or get our power back without taking the time to reflect and really see, where did that original belief come from that created that experience that you continued to build on with more thoughts, with more emotions, more energy, which then led to you having a fear of certain things, like a fear of being seen, a fear of failure, a fear of being your authentic self. It can go into a myriad of things. But it's once you then start becoming self-aware of just the things you do and the reasons behind it, you will then start to see a parallel in the thoughts that you have, or the thoughts, the beliefs, and knowings that you had within a certain mindset that made you act a certain way. And then you see that thought out in the outside world, and then you start to become aware of, oh, this thought that I had, this belief, this knowing, this being a part of my central self-concept is rooted from this outside idea. You'll start to recognize the outside projections, the knowledge, the ideas that created that mindset, that version of yourself, that perception that you had of the world through just everything that you have ever experienced and ingested, like mentally ingested into believing to be true. So things from our parents, the education system, culture, society, media, etc. So it's just everything outside of yourself. And when you start seeing the parallel in how things outside of you planted the seed of fear, of doubt, of worry, of stress, of limitation, of illusion, you will start to feel lied to. Like, I remember when I was like just going through thoughts and ideas and knowings that I used to have, and really sitting down with it and looking at it, and it's like, wait, how does this help me? Does this make me feel more peace? Does this make me feel more free? Does this make me feel more happy, more joyful? Like, why did I believe this? And then you start saying like, oh my gosh, literally the majority of everything that I've ever believed is literally false. Like, literally the major, like, you start to be like, oh my gosh, I've literally been lied to, and I've literally been programmed. I've been programmed to create a life for myself that serves someone else's, or it's not even someone else, these, like it makes someone else's life easier, right? But the thing is, like, the ideas don't, because you kind of have to think also too, like, when there's certain ideas that like certain people have, certain ideologies, like these things didn't necessarily even come from humans. Like, yes, within the world you can see that people are, you know, just talking or saying whatever, believing whatever, but if, like I said before, like, thoughts are not ours. Thoughts are being spread within, like, the web and the realm of the 4D, and the thing is, there's higher things, there's higher beings that, and spirits that control certain thoughts, that are certain ideas. And so it's like we are just the conduits of it. And so it's up to us to basically anchor in thoughts, ideas, and basically like spirits that serve us, you know? But it's like this thing it's much bigger than the 3D plane and the humans and places and things that are within these ideas and knowings that people have. And because people are experiencing things based off of the ideas that they are receiving, it becomes more personal. But it's like, once you are taking off that mask and becoming a conscious creator and not letting the outside world unconsciously create your life for you, you kind of start to see stuff from a higher perspective, and are not seeing things from just a 3D perspective or the 3D dimension. You know, it goes higher than that. But we'll get more into that later. But yeah, you start seeing parallels. You start, you know, I felt lied to. I was like, you know what, I really cannot trust like anything that anybody says. But then you kind of have to flip it and be like, okay, now this is where I need to start trusting myself, you know? Because you can have that negative of like, you know, I hate the world and, you know, like block it out. But we still exist within the 3D plane. So it's just a matter of how much you can control your own mind, how much you trust yourself to be able to filter out thoughts that serve you and that don't. And in this, going through the purge, your first phase, that's basically where you're getting that practice, where you're getting that intuition to come online to then help you discern what is actually meant for you and what is not. You know? And then, once you are becoming aware of this outside projections and all of that stuff, the next step is like cutting it all out. Because you say, okay, all of these things outside of me have built this version of myself self-concept, this version of myself story, this version of myself's ego, and now I am taking matters into my own hands. I'm taking control into my own hands. And what do I have to do for this? For me, that looked like a mental diet, not even mental diet, mental fast. Like I was not watching or not listening to anything like outside of my day-to-day reality. Like literally little to no music. Like the only music I was listening to was like frequencies, like literally like chakra frequency, like healing music, like Reiki. But other than that, I was listening to no music. And I love music, so that was like hard. But no music. I didn't watch the news like at all. I didn't watch any TV shows. I literally deactivated all my social media. I did not I didn't go anywhere. I barely talked to anyone, and I didn't like literally the only people I was seeing was just like the people who lived in my house, and like necessary obligations that I had to do. But other than that, I was homebound. I was in full-blown hermit mode, and I needed that. That was necessary for me because I was just so lost and out of touch with my soul, with my spirit, with who I was at a core, that literally I just did not trust anything outside of me. And it wasn't like, of course I felt lied to and all of that stuff, and it was true. And it wasn't like every single thing in my life that I cut out was malicious or had ill intent towards me. But the thing is, for me, I just needed literally like a blank slate. Like I needed no stimuli, like nothing to watch, nothing to do, just like pure, just me and myself and my thoughts, for me to literally peel and shed all of the things that I had known, like everything, and really take a hard look at it and say, like, is this even serving me? Like, who am I? Like, I went through like immense like soul searching journey. Like it was just like I was off the grid. And I needed it. It was so necessary, and I'm so thankful that I did that, because when it's like when you quiet everything down, it only makes the inner call louder, and it's like you need to just really shut everything off so you can have that peace and that basically boredom for things to start coming out. It's like you literally have nothing to do, so you must learn about yourself. I must journal. I must meditate, and so yeah. And so then through those meditations, like I'm talking like I meditate basically for hours. And of course this will look different for different people. Not everybody is going to have the same clearing or purging routine, or not even routine, just stage. But in that blank space, in that off the grid, I was able to see myself like rawly see myself, and then start to identify what wasn't working. And that's my next point, identifying habits and patterns that you want to release. And that comes through cutting out all the outside noise and going into self-reflection and shadow work. And seeing, basically, with shadow work, it's taking a look at your shadow self. And your shadow self is basically you operating within, you could say, your lowest vibration. And lowest vibration can be through, emotions and feelings and thoughts of anger, of fear, of doubt, of worry, of stress, of jealousy, of envy. And seeing why I was acting within a low vibrational state, why I was taking aligned action with those feelings or with those vibrations or with those frequencies. And the thing with emotions, one thing you learn in the journey of self, in the journey of self-mastery, is emotions are signals. They're signals of something deeper that either doesn't feel fulfilled or is being overly attended to, or it just matters on what emotion you're feeling and how that emotion is triggered, or how you were triggered by something that then unearthed that emotion. And in your journey of self-mastery, you start to see that all emotions are necessary because they help you figure out what is actually beneath that, And I feel like that's also something I had to learn of, like, in my journey, because I feel like with being on your spiritual path, you can see, like, everyone's like, yeah, love and light. And, like, true, love and light. That's great. It's good. But also sadness and fear and worry can teach you some things as well, And that's something that is going to be faced within your first phase a lot, because you're making that first shift towards being the best version of yourself. And so sometimes it feels like sometimes I would have days where I was just sad, for no reason. Literally sad for no reason. Or I would be crying for no reason. And that's literally my body's way of processing that emotion. That emotion being released and moved through my body, and I just having to allow that moment. And then later in reflection, whether that be journaling or meditating, I find out why I was having that certain emotion. And so for this purging, you really have to have a lot of patience. You have to have a lot of self-love, self-compassion, and knowing that healing, as I said before, healing is a process. Every day isn't going to look perfect, that you're going to be so high vibrational, you're going to be so happy, so at peace, such at bliss. Some days just out of nowhere, you're going to be feeling sad and feeling, some days you'll be feeling angry or whatever you're feeling. But the thing is, in self-mastery, it's about how you move that energy, how you acknowledge it, and then let it teach you something about yourself, and then letting it go and being in flow. Ooh, that rhyme. Letting it go and letting it be inflow. Period. But yeah, it's like, and within that shadow work, you will also see that a lot of the habits and the patterns that you have that are being expressed by that version, either that current version of yourself, can be very quick, can be very second nature. It can be your nature. And that's simply because, as I said before, the thoughts, the ideas that you pay the most attention to is where the energy is going, where your power is going. So if you're paying a lot of attention, literally paying, literally, oh my gosh, yeah, oh my gosh, yes, literally paying. Like when they say pay attention, like they literally mean give me your attention, and thus in giving me your attention, I will give you this. Literally, you're paying for stuff. You're paying for things to show up within your reality by the attention you place on it, right? So if you're paying a lot of attention to fear, you're giving a lot of your power to fear, then it's going to show up in your life a lot because you're giving the attention to it, right? And in identifying the habits, the patterns that you want to release, you're going to realize that when you want to change and you want to flip or switch to the opposite direction, your brain is going to basically do the opposite. Like you might have a certain thought of what you want to change your mindset to. Say you're afraid of heights, right? Like deathly afraid of heights. And now you want to change that, right? And you could be like, you know what? I'm not afraid of heights. I detach from heights. Like I bet you the first thing the first thoughts in your mind is going to be the opposite of that, because that's what you were paying attention to the most before. And so it can be very hard in the beginning to switch. And this reminds me of like something on TikTok that I saw, and it was like, it's Delulu until it's Trululu, you know? Like it's going to seem delusional at first because you have been so accustomed to one way of thinking, one way of feeling, one way of acting. And since our brain makes neural pathways with things that we do, because imagine if your brain had to use energy to consciously receive and consciously act to every single thing you did, you know, like that would make life so much slower. And so that's why our brain establishes neural pathways for things that we do routinely, you know, on a daily basis. And so that's what, when you put your attention and your energy towards something, you're causing more traffic within that pathway and basically making the groove deeper, you know? And so when you want to switch that, it can be hard because it's like you've traveled down that pathway, that road so much. It's going to take time for that road to close, for you to close that pathway and basically mold another road, mold another pathway within your mind. And so with that also, your thoughts and feelings act as magnets, you know? So whatever you're putting your attention to is going to magnetize something within that same frequency, something within that same vibration. So that's why sometimes it can be hard to switch out of a certain mindset or switch out of a certain belief, because you have been adding so much energy, so much attention, so much thoughts and emotions, frequencies and vibrations to a certain thing, that energy has gotten so heavy that to dismantle it, it's going to take time. And with our brains, like, it's so cyclical. Like, if you think of something, it's going to come back. Like, literally, it's like a circle. Like, say, like, I think of, like, food, right? And then like I go throughout my day, and then again something about food is going to come up later, but it just depends on how much attention I put to it, right? Say like I was really hungry, and like I would just constantly think, like I thought about food, and then like a thought of food comes and I react, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so hungry, so I'm putting an emotion to it, right? And so then say like I do something else, and later it comes back even faster because I put a reaction towards, I put a feeling towards it instead of responding to it and being like, am I really that hungry? Like, no, I can push it away. But because I had a feeling or something stronger, something heavier towards it, that magnetized it more. So then now, say I'm really hungry, food is constantly, you know, racing in my mind, circling in my mind, and then I'm getting even more hangry. I'm getting even more emotionally distressed because I'm focusing on something that I don't have, but there's an apparent need for it because I reacted to it, you know? And so it's like once you know these things, it's so much easier to be able to filter and discern things within your mind, filter and discern things within your brain. Because it's like, first, you know, not all thoughts that you have are yours. And second of all, you have the power to basically bring a thought, a spirit to life or not, you know, and that's just dependent on the attention that you put on it. And so then once you're getting to a place of identifying habits and patterns that you want to release, you start getting to my next point, which is the creation of a new self-concept. You know, for me, that time wasn't necessarily just spent on peeling back, or it was spent on peeling back the layers, but it was also dreaming, you know, spending time imagining, spending time creating a vision for myself. Because, as I said before, since I had got so out of touch, I literally did not know what I wanted to do. And you know how people say, like, when they're little, they had dreams of being this or that. And for me, like, I literally had lost touch of that dream. I didn't know what I wanted to. Like, the earliest memories of something that, like a career or something I wanted to do was to be a doctor. And I know that was not me. I did not plant that seed. That was not coming from within of Sukeji being a doctor. Like, that was someone outside of me, and I just adopted it because I thought that it was cool and I'd be helping people. And yeah, it was attractive, and like, I'm not shading being a doctor. Like, that's a good thing, you know. But that wasn't something that was me, coming from within, coming from my soul, you know. And so it's like you start getting real creative, and that's something too, like my creativity had awakened, you know, of just in general, because I was dreaming and thinking of, you know what, who is Sukeji? Who do I want her to be? Who, like, what does she do? How does she look? What does she do? How does she spend her time? How does she carry herself? How does she think about herself? How does her life look? What are her hobbies, you know? And it's like, even I would be like, if I was completely financially free, like, what would I be doing with my time, you know? And at first it can seem very fictional, like, because it's like you're in the current version of yourself and you're imagining the most freest, the most authentic, the most truest version of yourself, and you can feel like, whoa, like, that literally is a whole different person. But just know, through time of continuing to pour into that vision, continuing to spending time dreaming, imagining, and, you know, creating your story of how the best version of yourself looks, acts, feels, and what their life looks like, you will then start to blend into that person. You will then start to merge into that person and embody that person. And then literally you will be that new person. And it's just, it takes time, it takes process. It's a process, it takes patience, but just know that having patience, having self-love, self-compassion, and not giving up on that vision and believing in yourself, believing that you can make a life that fulfills you, like on a soul level, fulfills you on a spiritual level, like you will get there. And maybe it won't even take as much time as you think it would based off of what the outside world tells you is quote unquote pragmatic. But honestly, a lot of things that the outside world says is pragmatic is based on fear. Like it's based on limitation. But it's just seen as pragmatic because quote unquote everybody's doing it. But is everybody that's doing it getting the results that are promised for doing that certain thing? No. Because if they were, you wouldn't see people struggling or, complaining or like not operating off of their highest good. Like the world would be a better place if people were actually living as their most authentic selves, because people will have the self-love for themselves and that will be mirrored within their reality, and they would treat others with respect. And we wouldn't be seeing half of the stuff, half of the things, the struggles, the tribulations, the trials, the just heaviness that people go through in the world, And another point within this is getting accustomed to the journey of being a conscious creator. And with this, this is an extension of, starting the creation of self-concept. So then it's like, once you are like, okay, I have this vision of myself. These are the desires. These are the wants. These are the knowings that you are assuming about your reality, assuming about yourself. There's going to be like a lag, right? Because if you think about it, the idea, like where you are, where your mind and your emotions are right now are within the 4th, 5th, 6th dimensions, right? And so for it to come down into the 3D dimension, for it to be birthed into the 3D dimension is going to take time. It's going to take more information. It's going to take more light, which is basically like your frequencies, your thoughts. It's going to take more vibrations, more feelings, more emotions, right? For it to become more solid, for it to become more concrete, for it to then manifest within your 3D reality, right? And so you also have to know that within this point right now, where your mind is you are basically creating the reality for your future, right? Where my thoughts are right now are creating the reality for my future. So that means that everything that you have gone through in the past, I feel like I said this, but I need to reiterate this because it's very important. Everything that you have experienced in the past was the thoughts, the mindset, the reality of a even more past version of yourself, right? So that means that the present that I am currently in right now is the construction of the mindset, the thoughts, the ideas, the feelings of a past version of myself, right? So it's what I feel, what I am thinking within my inner world, within my mind, within my heart, that is being mirrored into the exterior, which is being mirrored within my 3D reality, all the assumptions, all the beliefs, all the knowings, right? So when you are first becoming or stepping into being that conscious creator, stepping into that role of being the God of your reality, the creator of your reality, it's going to take time for you to start to see the fruition of the work that you're starting to pour into yourself, because you have been operating off of this former mindset, this former assumption, knowings, and beliefs. And it's going to take time for you to switch it and for your reality to then switch it. But the thing is, the more you become more conscious and the more that you step into the role of being the creator and setting intentions of how you want your life to go, the easier and quicker that your manifestations will start to come, and the lag will literally become smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where you can manifest stuff instantly. Literally, that's something for me right now. Like I manifest instantly. And you can do that, but it just takes time, and it takes patience, and it takes being committed to your vision and knowing that you can grow and become an even better version of yourself. And for that, you really have to be selfish in a way, and self-devoted. I like to say self-devotion, not selfish, because selfish kind of has a negative connotation. But you do, because when you're changing your life, literally everything around you is going to be changing, and not everyone is going to be so open and welcoming to the idea of you changing yourself, right? Because it's like you're becoming new, so it's forcing them to change in a way, change how they treat you, change how, they talk to you, change the things around you, and for when you are experiencing that friction of starting to listen to yourself and starting not to listen to other people or the people that you used to listen to, it can get very uncomfortable, and it can be vexing, because it's like everything that you once were comfortable with, you're seeing is not serving you, is a lie. And so it's kind of like you start to see how comfortability is very deceiving, and how you have to continue to trust yourself. That's something too. I had to learn to trust myself from someone who literally did not, like, basically almost everything in my mind was from the outside world, whether it was planted and then it became my own, or I just agreed, right? And so it's like, in being a conscious creator, or starting to, you have to grow the trust. And in growing the trust, you will start to finally be introduced to your intuition, what the signals in your body, that you get for certain things, of the knowings that you have with, like, because sometimes intuition surpasses logic. Like, what you think your ego, your logical mind knows, like, your intuition is above that, because it's seeing things from your spiritual perspective, what outside of the 3D reality dimension. And so it's like, sometimes there are going to be times where you just feel something, but it doesn't make sense, but like, you just feel it and you just want to do it, but you've been doing things another way, or you've been doing things this way and you're more comfortable doing it this way because you've experienced it more, but it's not serving you. So definitely your intuition starts coming online, getting spiritually awakened. And I saw the power of the universe within my life, and seeing what I actually was meant to do, because I was trusting myself, because I was choosing to be a conscious creator. The universe then mirrored that within my 3D reality, and my 3D reality was then guiding me to things that I was supposed to be doing. Like, as I said, like literally if I would apply to like internships or something, I'd literally get rejected or I'd never hear anything back. And I'd be like, dang, like, you know what? I think this is the universe telling me that I just need to focus on myself and not spend my time or my attention on things outside of me, because there's something deeper that needs to be unearthed. And getting to my higher self, or in physical form, becoming my higher self, becoming my truest self is more important than what this certain person, place, or thing or job or whatever can give me, you know. But then it's like, from the outside looking in, your life will probably look so messy. Like while I was like like in this first purging, like while I was doing this, I had a peace. There was a certain peace to myself, because it's like I kind of knew that I was doing what I was supposed to do. But to other people that were looking, of course, from their perspective of my life, they saw me as, people could say, a failure. They saw me as like, she needs help, you know, like something's wrong. Like she needs guidance. She needs some milk. Like she needs help, you know. But the thing is, in stepping into being that conscious creator, sometimes you have to be like, you know what? Like, I know what I'm doing. Just like, give me time, give me space, give me like an arm, a leg, just allow me to be me, allow me to do my process my way, and trust that I will come out on top, trust that I will come out successful. And so that just connects to trusting yourself and telling, you know, other people, places, and things are just outside of your life that you got it. You know, like, I got it. Like, I got myself into this mess. Like, I'll get myself out. Like, I'm starting to trust myself to become the solution. But also you need to recognize sometimes they're doing this out of love. Sometimes when people are showing concern, it's out of a good place, you know. But the thing is just now you're going into a different alignment, right? So it's like, now you're in different frequencies, now you're in different vibrations, now you're in different energies. So it's like, I appreciate the love or the guidance that you're trying to give me. However, I got it. However, I think I know I'm the key. I'm the key to my life. I'm the way. I'm the bomb. So, like, I got it, you know? And so I think this is a great place to end this second episode. I want to say first thank you to everyone who has listened. Literally, I saw like how many people listened, and I was like, oh my gosh, like my mind was literally blown. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know it was gonna be popping like this. So I want to say thank you to everyone who listened, who even clicked, who even just experienced just my page, my podcast, and just I really hope that you're getting just everything that you need to get your power back, to becoming the creator of your reality. And I hope that my insights are being relayed to you with the most clarity, with the most love, with the most light, with the most peace, and that you are growing and learning, and maybe even using the things that I'm saying to help you in your own personal path for growth and to become the highest version of yourself. So again, thank you. And I will see you next time. Bye.